whaapai Se isau sau noala e Samoa Amata ususu lea Yulia luilea toa Sulu ile malo mamalua ile tuinga salani le uua ovale iila Awalunga ioleta so asili le mata ina Fai mamalule faiva Isilile sila sila Taula wangaba Isio sasa Ele mamaluna youla Esilia tulava iona poneila Samoa mamalua ila valo sau sau noa Yolo anele fua malepa o fai fai mali ole pati malepo Seifa solo fei wasaongi ya malene ya So ala tele la vale fata fiti Kaualunga le sona ta fiti fiti Uteo fia fia ngafa asamo Moni lava uasili Fai mamalule fai mama Isilile sila sila Taula wangaba Isio sasa Ile mavaele mamaluna youla Esilia tulava iona poneila Samoa mamalua ila valo sau sau
Hello all, and thank you for joining us for our last, sadly, part 8, but it's going to come to a good end because I really feel excited about this topic. Cultural fatigue, what is it, and do I have it? Just a couple things to note is, mute your mic when you're not speaking, be mindful of your background noise, and then we will be monitoring both the Facebook and Zoom chats for questions. I'm going to throw the chat into the Facebook Live into our chat for those here who want to share it. But with that, I'm going to pass it over to our amazing therapists, Scarlett and Sala.
Dude, don't be sad. We'll be back. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's community conversation about cultural fatigue. What is it and do I have it? I'm excited about this conversation because it's again a topic like we in our communities talk about with amongst ourselves, but not really, really don't share what's going on. And so a lot of the notions that someone I've come across when it comes to this topic is like, we have met several people across our lives who really talk about what we're going to get into tonight in regards to cultural fatigue and just bring light to it. And so I'm really excited about this conversation. So with that being said, my name is Scarlett Ekaroma. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and boundaries coach. I have been in this field for over a decade, and I work through my private practice with Elevate Healing LLC. And I have the honor of doing these classes with my colleague, Sala, from New Hope Counseling. And it has been definitely a blessing to do these classes for our communities as we continue to empower and enrich our communities. So that being said, I'm gonna flip it over to my colleague, Sala, so she can introduce her amazing self.
Thank you, Scarlett. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sala. As Scarlett mentioned, I am also a licensed mental health therapist here in the state of Washington. Currently operating out of my own private practice as well, New Hope Counseling, where I continue to see my own clients. Also going to school full time. And then I am also a full-time mom to two teenagers. So all the fun and joys that come with that. But tonight we are looking forward to hopefully some really good engaging conversations around cultural fatigue. And trust me, we're going to take our time to talk about cultural fatigue, what it is, and do we have it? What does that even look like? But yep, just wanted to say hello real quick. Again, if you have any questions and you're not comfortable maybe sharing it, we encourage you to just put it in the chat and then I can read it out. But we really do welcome the engagement. We hope that everyone just feels free to be able to just unmute yourself and ask a question, or even say a comment, or even share your experiences as we go through the slides. We find that when people share their experiences, it really connects everyone. Just because like whatever you maybe have went through or are currently going through could be speaking to someone else that's maybe experiencing the same thing. So it's really helpful in that way. But it continues to foster community, within all of our participants. And at the same time, like Scarlett and I will just talk your ear off when it comes to anything with mental health. But we don't want to do that because we talk about this stuff all the time. But we really hope that we'll get some engagement tonight from everyone, whether it's a question, whether it's a thumbs up, whether it's a little heart emoji there. But we really do hope that you take this time to be able to just be free to let us know what your questions are, share your experiences and your thoughts on our topic for tonight. So with that being said, I'm gonna push it on over to Scarlett. Get us started.
Awesome. Oh, thanks, Ella. Thanks for your introduction. Just to reiterate, just if you have a question in the midst of us talking and as we're presenting, again, please don't hesitate to stop us if you want to share as well. So for those who are in the Zoom meeting, if you go to the chat, there is I did attach the presentation summary. And so once I am done with my part with the presenting, I will post it in the Facebook chat as well. But again, just even those on the Facebook chat, we will get to it and we will answer, and we will, again, continue to engage in this community conversation about cultural fatigue. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Solomon, good? Good? Cool. All right, cultural fatigue, what is it and do I have it? Ooh, oh, no, don't do that. All right, so here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to introduce what cultural fatigue is. We're going to get into some definitions and to some engaging questions. And then we're going to talk about the cultural fatigue cycle. This is a really cool cycle that Sol and I came up with that we feel is really just kind of summarizes how we actually get to cultural fatigue. Next is we're going to break down the cycle, break down each stage of the cycle. And then we're going to talk about some self-care tips to reduce cultural fatigue. And again, these self-care tips that you can literally use with immediacy as soon as you're done listening to our presentation on cultural fatigue. And that's what we love about this, because it's not something that it takes an additional exerted effort. It's just something you can just truly practice within yourself. And then we're just going to chat. We're going to do Q&A, just to open up the conversation to the community about any ideas, any thoughts that they have about what we presented tonight in regards to cultural fatigue. So that being said, first question that I have for you all, and I'll definitely share as well, is what ideas, thoughts do you have when you hear the words cultural fatigue? Seeley, did you unmute? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'll share. It would be like overwhelmed from like family functions, and always having to represent in that way. Although I feel like I've been super Samoan lately, really representing the culture.
Okay.
Ala Talo in the Facebook chat said contentment. Thanks, Ala.
Yeah, let's say more about that. What do you mean by contentment? I'd love to hear more about that. That's really good.
Okay, let me just write her back.
Yeah. Um, so overwhelmed with cultural things, contentment. So anybody else have any ideas or thoughts when they think about the words, about the phrase cultural fatigue that they would like to share? And again, you can share it in the chat or you can unmute yourself
I think
and
Marie
share.
is unmuted, so she might want to share or thinking about it.
Okay. Marie, did you want to share?
Or maybe not.
Or not? Okay. So I'll continue the conversation. So this was a question that we asked a group that Sal and I are a part of, and it was very interesting in regards to what came up in regards to cultural fatigue. And a lot of the consensus is that they were managing feelings in regards to respect and disrespect. There was imposter syndrome. They were feeling like they will always have to defend who they are and the culture. There was a lot of societal and familiar pressure and expectations, and it was challenging. It was that in itself is a little bit challenging because we have the newer generation that's coming up and asking questions of why do we have to do that? Like who says we have to do that? And then a lot of the times the societal familiar pressure and the expectations was you had to, that was more important than taking care of yourself. And then there was a lot of feelings of depression and anxiety. And then we'll get into a little bit of health issues that come up as well. And then what's interesting, I thought was interesting, what somebody had said in that group was that they always felt like they had to one up, somebody else in regards to keeping up with the culture, making sure that you look good, the family looks good. And that was that whole one up spirit. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So, all right, all it says, not wanting to participate due to not knowing and misunderstanding and misrepresentations of our ways of doing things. Yeah, and we talked about a little bit the last time, I believe, and we talked about how the notion of helping out with cultural events has kind of lost its meaning, rather than how it initially started out to be. So, very good. Anybody else want to add anything? Ala, thank you for adding that. Greatly appreciate it. Sala, did you?
Yes, I think like from the last time we also had this community conversation on cultural fatigue. I think one of the things that someone said that maybe stood out to me, I wasn't sure if you had mentioned it, Scarlett, but someone was like saying like, because they, I think, identify as like biracial, that, it was just this, fatigue or burnout from having to try and I think if I can remember correctly, like either accommodating, one culture and still not fitting in, and then trying to accommodate or fit in or identify with the other culture and still not fitting in. And so just kind of looking at cultural fatigue in that way, to where, almost to the point where for some people it was like, I don't even want to have anything to do with the culture, with that culture or this culture, or, whatever. But this was a perspective from someone that was like, that is like biracial.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about that, because there was this reconciliation that I even had to do for myself in regards to being Samoan, because in a lot of spaces I wasn't truly accepted as Samoan, and it was weird to me because I'm like, I look like y'all, and so I would always after quite a bit from someone himself would be like, "Are you Samoan?" And I'm just like, and so there was that notion of I got quite a bit growing up and being a part of the culture. It's just like I wasn't Samoan enough. And I was just like, because I don't fluently speak Samoan, I understand like very little of it. And so, and my family and I, we grew up in Florida. We were just the main Pacific Islanders along with a few others. So there was, like I said, so I could definitely see with someone who is biracial, like navigating, it's two very different worlds. And so it's like, because one can sometimes suffer in the other. So.
I think another thing too, I just thought about, Scarlett, was just how like with cultural fatigue, like I think when we hear the word culture, we I think we maybe default to, you know, our, like, for example, for me, if you identify, if you know, if you're from a certain ethnicity, when I hear culture, I immediately think about my Samoan culture, right? But I think sometimes we forget that culture can be, I mean, you could go to school and be, you know, there's a certain culture of being a student within a certain, you know, institution, you know, that also exists, right? So I think, you know, just wanted to throw that out there as far as like when it comes to culture, right? Because sometimes when we hear that word, we think, you know, something that has to do with our customs, traditions, you know, with our
Yeah.
ethnicity, things like that. But I think in a much maybe more broader definition or sense, culture can be like there's a certain culture at work, right? There's a certain, you know, type of culture that, you know, in your workplace, in your church community, you know, that kind of culture as well. So just wanted to kind of like, you know, throw that out there as well and add to the conversation.
No, that's good. I mean, I think because, like I said, as a someone who grew up in the South, there was the Southern culture I had to navigate, and navigating as a Samoan Pacific Islander girl, young girl in our family. So that was definitely, I love that you brought that up. And so, all right. Do you think you have cultural fatigue or know someone who does? I'm going to go with an emphatic yes on my end. Anybody else want to add to that?
Just wanted to share something in the chat from Mohammed that says, also for first generation immigrants and refugees, it is the opposite. Did you want to share a little bit more about that, Mohammed?
Yeah, so like for like people who just came to this country, you know, trying to fit in, trying to adapt to the new culture in a way, like that kind of compromise between like native culture and the like, you know, the new country that we are, you know, this new culture of the like the mainstream community. Also like, you know, very, very kind of traumatizing for some people who don't know like the language and who don't know like the culture in a way. So trying to learn, trying to adapt, trying to change a little bit to come culture and to merge that kind of new space, new culture of the in between these two cultures is something that is always like kind of a process of negotiation, a process of changing, a process of learning. And for some people, it takes years, and it's a very complicated process that's really for some community members, as I see it every day, like, you know, advertising. Yeah.
Thanks, Mohammed. I greatly appreciate that perspective, because it's true. It's a matter of, because sometimes when we have to adjust to where we're coming, you know, there could be a sense of losing who you are, and especially with the older generation, it's you know, don't forget these things of how we grew up here, and don't forget like this is who you are, and still trying to adjust to a whole new world that at times may just not care about your culture. And so it's a hard tussle when you're going to somewhere new, whether you come to the United States or go to a whole different country that you don't have a lot of people who look like you. So really just adjusting to that. So thank you, Mohammed, for sharing that, because that's a great perspective. Because it is a very challenging journey to navigate those waters, for sure. Before we move on, does anybody else want to add anything? It's very difficult to process and establish our new identities. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good point, because a lot of times I don't know about you, Mohammed, or the people you have encountered, or the, you know, individuals you encounter, because it's like we are pushed to do something to adapt and change. And then when you do that, then there's this negativity that comes with, like, why are you doing that? And I go, but you told me to do it. You told me to do this and adjust. So it's a very very interesting navigating that journey in regards to what that is. So very, very, very good conversation. So part of what we talk about, oh, go ahead, Al, go ahead.
And also it's, I find it, because I grew up in Ireland, very grounded with traditions and the upbringing, and I am very grateful for that. But for our for our kids, like for myself, I have adult kids, and now in the culture where many times we tell them, like what you're saying, we tell them, hey, do this, but we don't explain to them why we're doing this. Like, for example, say somebody passed away from another family, and then my mom called me and say, okay, we ought to put in $300 from each of you guys to do this. Then my job was to, because it's traditionally, because this is what we see, we tell our kids, hey, we need to come up with $300 for this. We never explain why we're doing it. We're just telling them to give up, $100 from each of them to, to represent me for doing that. But why do we need to do that? And the kids will say to some kids, the rebellious ones will turn around and challenge you. Mom, why do we have to do that? Do we know that person? Does that person even contribute into your all those questions? But the problem is we cannot blame our kids. We have to explain why we're doing things here, because there is a struggle between the American lifestyle that our kids are adapting to. And here we are, someone, bold and grew up and so hardcore in the culture. We're here and we're telling our kids, hey, do this. And they turn around and challenge you. And then we get upset, like, oh, you feel poco. Are you trying to feel poco to me? When I tell you what to do, you do it without, and the kids are, confused. Like, why? Why am I supposed to do this? Can you explain to me why, instead of saying, you don't have to tell me what to do. You just do what, but that is the thing about our culture that we need to really, put it out there for our kids. They need to learn, explain why, even the non-Samoan or non-Pacific Islanders, people that are coming into, because I am married to a non-Samoan person, and he needs to understand our culture, because they are the one who's going to be, supporting us with this journey. So we need to explain and give meanings to why we're doing things, instead of just shoving it down and say, you need to do that. And the kids are like, well, I'm an adult. They have that. I'm an adult. I have my own family. I don't have to do that. But why do we do what we do? What does the culture, why do we continue to do cultural stuff? We need to educate our kids about our culture, because it's a beautiful culture.
Beautiful.
We Pacific Islanders, we have one of a kind of culture, or any culture. Why do we do things that that involves family? Why do we do things that involves the community? Because some kids, they're looking at their parents giving all the money to the church, and then here they are struggling, and they don't understand. So they turn around and they like, here we are hungry, and you're giving all the money to the pastor. Why do we have to do that? But that is something that we need to explain to our kids, and all the people that are in our lives. We need to start being intentional, instead of just doing things just for the heck of it. I am so sorry. But be
You're good.
intentional with teaching and educating our kids. Like, give them meanings. We do things with a meaning. We have a Matai system, and this is what we were doing when we back home. We served under a Matai, and in the Matai system, there's different system. There's the high chief, there is the talking chief, and there is serving chiefs. So we need to explain everything to them so that they can understand. Believe me, when they do understand, they have no problem accepting our traditions and doing the cultural things that we do. But if we continue to do like, you don't answer me back when I tell you, because we grew up with that. We don't answer our parents back. And we bring that, so when people bullied us, especially the elders or people that are older than us, we don't say anything. I don't know. I love the Samoan traditions and the culture. And this is one of my area of interest. And I'm very passionate, because I wanted people to understand who we are. And I wanted especially our youth to understand that we are some amazing people. We are some talented people. We are some gifted, and if only they know how gifted they are and we are, they would understand and accept everything about our traditions.
Beautifully said, Ala. Thank you for sharing. It's like I said, part of what you're talking about in regards to how we grew up, it's very different because it's like you just said and do. You didn't question because, I've talked about a little bit of this before in previous presentations where Sal and I talked about like a lot of how our families grew up and our elders is a lot of we have to survive, to where now that survival thinking doesn't apply to modern what's going on right now. So you are going to have these teenagers, these kids coming up asking, hey, why do we have to do that? Like, what does that mean? And so if we don't really take the time to explain the importance and significance of what that is, this is how tradition gets lost, and this is how people become resistant to culture. So it's beautifully said. So in the chat, it says, yep, our youths are already prideful with the culture, but the lack of explaining our culture to them leaves them confused and disconnected to our culture, which can eventually lead to cultural fatigue. Beautifully said, Sala.
And I was just kind of summing up what Ala was saying, and absolutely. And so Ala, this is an amazing segue into why we decided to kind of do this cultural fatigue class, because what we are getting on our end as mental health clinicians is we are getting PI people from our communities that are young people that are at the point where it's just like there's a disconnect between them and their parents, right? Because there's a language barrier where the communication isn't there, and then there's also that cultural barrier where you have the Samoan parents that are very strong and rooted in our culture, but then maybe somewhere along the way just not able to sort of communicate that to to their kids, to this now first generation American youth. And so we're getting a lot of that because now we're seeing a lot of PI people just with this disconnect, and they're getting burnt out. We're getting community members that are really burnt out with culture and everything about culture. And so we see that, and we are looking at it from like a clinical perspective, and we're kind of like, okay, you know what, this is a really good class for that, because then we can have communication, we can have some kind of a dialogue about why is it that we are experiencing these things, and we wanted to highlight some of these things that everything that you're talking about, Ala, is what we're going to go through in tonight's class. So I'm excited. So continue to share and comment if anything comes up. So we absolutely welcome it all, and welcome everyone that's joining us now.
Yes, again, fire conversation. I love it. So here's the importance of culture. And this is why, this is why it's important to talk about that part as well. It's keeping Native customs alive and are relevant due to acculturations, which we talked about, living outside of your native homeland. And so that's the big reason why we bring culture with us, because it's one of those, because it is a part of our identity. And that leads to the next one. It contributes to our self-identity. I am so thankful that I am Samoan, I'm Pacific Islander. And because I just, like Ala was saying, I truly enjoy, once I got over all the trauma stuff with our culture, I was able to truly enjoy the beauty of what it is. Because one of the things I love about Pacific Islander cultures, and I just think any Eastern culture, because we are very big in family systems and very collectivistic society. Like when we show up, we show up. And we show up in big numbers. And I absolutely love that about just BIPOC cultures just in general. The other part the importance of culture is it impacts an individual's or group's behavior regarding expression in language and body and how one problem solve, because our culture of who we are really does help us identify how we are going to go about something. So that being said, the next point that we're going to do is the actual definition of what Sal and I came up with in regards to what is cultural fatigue. So the definition of cultural fatigue is extreme. Keyword is extreme. Extreme psychological, physical, emotional tiredness resulting from mental or physical exertion relating to the ideas, customs, and social behaviors of a society or ethnic culture. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's true. I think that's the thing, like when, somebody had said earlier, it's just like, I've been doing a lot for the Samoan culture. And I think that's the thing. It's an extreme, because when this happens, the extreme part, like I said, that's what Sala was talking about. These are the Pacific Islanders or other BIPOC individuals who come and talk about the stress that they have being in their family, in the system, and being what their cultural identity is. And so what Sal and I always talk about within those spaces is how to balance it. Not because a lot of times when people think about culture, when they come to us, they think they have to get rid of it. And it's just like, and I always go on that navigation with them, like, is that something you want to get rid of? They're like, well, no. So then we have to do this healing and this reconciliation about what they didn't like and what's going on. And then we end up identifying, okay, let's find some beauty in what your culture is. And so we end up talking about it. And I'm like, how do you feel you can balance that? Like, how do you feel you can balance that better for you? And then they are able to fall back in love with what their identity is. And it's such a beautiful thing to help them along that journey and witness. And so, like I said to you earlier, that's something I had to particularly do for myself, which I'm glad I did, because like I said, I absolutely love being a PI woman. So anybody want to add anything else before we move on to the next slide? Anybody have questions about the definition of cultural fatigue? If not, that's okay too. Oh, Ala, Ala, you're muted.
I think you hit it on the nail with the definition of cultural fatigue. And many times we disregard that because we're Pacific Islanders. We're always busy. We're busy with our lives. We're busy with church stuff. We're busy with community stuff. We hardly have time for our own individual families. And I'm talking mother, father, because we're too busy trying to keep a roof over our head. And then when it comes to our kids, they are the one who suffered because parents, mom and dad is working nonstop to provide a roof over their head. And then coming to the culture, if you are going to a church, especially a Pacific Islander church, we have church stuff, and we Pacific Islanders, we have an obligations to our duties to the church. So you work nonstop, and then Friday, bam, the church is having a family night and everybody has to be there. And then rack the kids. Okay, everybody do not plan anything on Friday night. We're all going to the church activity. Why do I have to go, Dad? Do I have to go? Yes, you have to go. And then you drag the kids, and the kids don't want to be there. And here they are getting dragged to go to the church activity. And then, but you're tired. Mom and dad is tired. what time do they have to have mental clarity for themselves? What time do they have to pause and take time? Pacific Islanders are the most culture that do not take self-care, very seriously for themselves, because we were naturally born into caretaking one another. If you look at our culture, we are not for just ourselves, like individuals. We have to take care of auntie, uncles, grandma, cousins, everybody, because we were born that way. We are a community, a communal cultural community. So all our kids will have to take care of other people's kids. If they're like, for example, my kids, because they're adults, if they have cousins that are younger, they will then fall into place of caretaking for their cousins if that's needed. But that's the responsibility that we put on our kids. So it stress our kids out, but they have no voice. And I am so glad we have this conversation tonight to shed some light on that. Like, parents, organize, and like, I'm speaking about myself too. I have to have time, for myself and my family, but that's where, everybody needs to be better at organizing and make time because right now, with the cost of living, and things are going to get worse. Our families, our PI families are suffering, and where do they draw the line? It's like, it's a bigger problem.
Yes, and that's when you attend what's your boundary class.
Like, we have a class for every single thing that you just talked about, Ala.
Oh my goodness. Am I behind on all these classes? I'm going to blame Lily on that, because this is my first time coming to the cultural class.
I love it. I love it.
So in the chat, it says, it is not assimilation by dissociation, stripping away who you are and being an American, rather than it is acculturation, learning to love your culture and self-identity, your mana, living through the duality of loving all aspects of what makes you. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And, just to emphasize what you were saying, was that a lot of times in regards to what we're talking about, always giving, it always comes at the cost of sometimes your overall health, your emotional well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being. And that's why we put those in the definition that we have. That being said, I'm going to introduce the cycle to you. And so these stages are very, very important. And Sal and I were coming up with this. Like I said, we took the information of our experiences and the things that we heard from others, and we put it into these 5 stages that we felt were very significant to talk about. Literally, because for our communities, because you literally can find yourself on one of these stages, and it doesn't have to go in order. Just so you all know, you can jump from one stage to another. So here it is. So stage 1, we have motivation and attraction. Stage 2, ambivalence. Stage 3, strong sense of duty and obligation. Stage 4, dissolution and apathy. Stage 5, burnout. And so that is the cycle of cultural fatigue that we have. So let's get into it. Stage 1. Woof,
Scarlett, before you move on, if you go back to that cycle, just want to remind everyone, so this is sort of the cycle, right? But at the same time, like, we're going to go into, deeply and talk about every single stage. However, this is not like, okay, I'm here, then I'm going to be ambivalent. Like, it's in no particular order. Okay. So just because we, make it to where it's like stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't mean that that's how you're going to experience them. So just wanted to make sure we point that out.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing that, Sala. All right. So let's talk about stage 1, motivation and attraction. This is where we're excited to be like, oh man, we got an event coming up. I can't wait to show other people what we're doing. It's high energy level. You're ready, available. Be like, oh, what do I need to do? Who needs me to go here? What errands do I need to run? And then we and that's the thing about the stage, we quickly commit because of the pride that we have in being in this part of the cultural event. And then you're really ready to make a difference. And it's typically in this stage because this is the time like we all come together. You know, we bond and we have a sense of belonging because everybody wants a sense of belonging and to bond with us. Because a lot of times when we come and put together an event, sometimes we don't see people for a very long time. We're like, oh man, how you been? So there's like this nice community catch up. There's this nice feeling of just feeling like happy and feeling like a sense of pride and feeling like a sense of a joy, you know, that you get to see these people. And then there's such a joy of like, because we always think about the end result of what it is that we're trying to do, and we get super excited about that. And so this is the part of the phase that where it's really interesting because like what I've noticed about this stage is like this is not the part where people complain. They're just readily ready to go, be like willing to help, because I have definitely been that, and it truly gets exciting to just be a part of that because we go the extra mile. We don't think about ourselves. It's like we gotta put on the event. It has to be the best. You know, it has to be whatever it has to be. We have these important people coming. We have these Matais coming. We have these great figures coming. We have family coming. We have the community who doesn't know about us who's coming. You know, so it's a lot of that. Oh man, it's just a super, super exciting time in this stage. So with that stage one, does anybody have anything they want to say? Sala, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think like I you know, whenever you talk about this stage, it reminds me of my kids, right? Because I see it as like, you know, I see this a lot in my kids. My boys are like teenagers. And, you know, whenever it has anything to do with the culture or, you know, something I have to do at church or anything to do with my family, you know, they're very motivated. They are eager to help. They're eager to learn. I mean, they went through a time when they were like, Mom, can you teach? Or like this week, right? It's like Samoan language week, right? And so they're like, oh, can you like just put up some words in Samoan and, you know, like teach us how to, you know, so there's the motivation that's there, right? They're prideful. You can see the amount of pride that, you know, that comes out of them when they're talking about their culture. I also think about so many activities, so many events that we see our young people, you know, when they do the high school competitions, and they're so prideful in their culture. And I feel like whenever this stage comes up, it's like that this is where they're at. This is where that next generation is at right now, is, you know, they see it as like, you know, they're motivated, you know, they're all like, you know, they're throwing up the T for, you know, Toko Uso. They're over there throwing up the S, you know, like this is where they're at. This is where our youth is at right now, as far as like, you know, they're excited to be a part of it, right? They're kind of going into it. I feel like sometimes I was maybe there at one point, but then, you know, we've all been jaded every now and then. And then we're like, we've already worked through our own process, you know, going through the culture, and we're like, you know, back with it. But like, I feel like when I think about this stage, I think about my kids and the younger generation, that this is exactly how they could be feeling.
I love that. Anybody want to add anything before we move on to stage 2? Celia, are we good in the Facebook chat?
Yes, I think Allah was talking. Were you saying something, Allah? You were muted if you were.
Oh, you're muted, Allah.
I'm with Sala in this one. I always remember my kids when we have or all the other kids that volunteer for any events that I was involved in. But I'm looking forward to the next stage.
Okay. All right.
So looking forward to the next stage.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the things when you come into like things that come culturally, like sometimes you can start at stage 5, which is burnout. Sometimes you can start at stage 3. Like I said, there's really just no set place where you start. So where where I'm at now, like when it comes to cultural events, I sometimes mostly start out in stage 2, which is ambivalence. So with ambivalence is you have mixed feelings and thoughts after realizing the commitment and requirements and needs of the whatever the cultural event is, or the cultural aspect, or just, and it doesn't have to necessarily be based on an event either. And so again, you begin to have mixed feelings and thoughts after realizing the commitment required and needed. You question if you want to participate. You possibly begin doubting if you want to continue moving forward. And then you may disagree with individuals. Individuals are part of the cultural event. And so it's in this stage where I would say there's a lot of contention, where there could be a lot of disagreement, especially the traditionalists versus the modern. And so it's always so interesting, because when that happens, and here I come in, I'm like, well, can we find a balance in that? And nobody's willing to give in. Everybody's just like, no, it has to be this way. And it's just like, okay, can it be that way? And can we also introduce something at least at the end of it? And it's usually the traditionalists win. And so when it comes to the kids who are now, it's like, but again, that whole place of contention and dissension sometimes that happens in regards to the stage of ambivalence. So it's, again, it's having a lot of mixed feelings. And this is the stage where I'll say, I'm just like, where I particularly figure out, I'm like, okay, I'm having mixed feelings about what they're asking of me to do. What can I do? You know, how can I contribute in a way that's not overexerting myself, and that I can still be, but still feel a part of it. Anybody
Totally
have any?
understand.
Go ahead.
Totally understand about that. But being in both places where I'm part of the planning team and then also a volunteer, this is my own personal draw from what I've seen and what I've experienced and what I've learned. When there is no clarity of explaining about what's going on, where the money is coming from to fund this, and how we're utilizing the funds, and how we're also having cultural aspects tied into what we're doing. If there is no clarity, then people will either confuse, bailed out, or some will stick around. But, you know, this is where I'm going to bring in the Bible scripture that says, with your vision, write it down, make it clear and simple so that everybody can understand. Most time, oh, let me put together an event. Why do you need to put together an event? What is the end result? See, if we do it that way, everybody that comes in will understand. Because here's the thing that I've seen with our Pacific Islander, and I'm going to specifically, because this is a culture thing, I'm going to specifically say most events, money is the cost of everything, why there is so many people that don't want to participate. Because there is no clarity. Our Samoan people, for example, there's $1,000 from the city, there's $100,000 from the city to put together an event, right? And then given to whomever is in charge of the event. Our Samoan people, that's a lot of money. To them, it's a lot of money, yes. But the facilitator or the person who's putting together an event should make sure to address all facts. When everything is clearly written down and explained, there should be no confusion. But most time, because we have elders, when we question or challenge anything, hey, you know what, you need to, because you're a younger person challenging a situation, that is where all the interest is lost. When nothing is clearly explained, and then all, in a chop suey kind of mode, we're going to get some confusion right there. But there's no education piece out of it. But I'm just speaking. I'm literally, God has made this conversation available for me to join in. And I'm really, my heart of appreciation to both of you sisters for bringing them on, because many times we work under scrutiny and under pressure, and nobody is hearing our voices. And I feel like in my heart, this is God has ordained this time for me to really, say something. I am not particularly pointing out anybody or anybody's fault, but please know from my own eyes and from my own learning, I wanted our community to first, explain everything, just explain everything. Our kids need to explain, some explanation. So that's, I don't want to take away from our 5 but
And that's why we're here.
That's why
we're here.
so led to say that, and I'm gonna use that, if you have a vision, write it down, make it clear, write it in simplicity so that you, me, and the kids know the reason why we're doing things. Stop mongyoso and just jump in and say, let's do this event. Why are you doing that event? Why? What is the purpose of why are we doing these events? Explain and give us a reason why. We will be there to support any vision that any elders have, but tell us why.
It's definitely true. It's because what you're talking about, Allah, is it's like the intention. Yeah. What is the intention of doing this? And so, because I have seen and where an event happened, and it was, the intention was said, but it was used for something else. So there's that part that happens within cultural fatigue, as well as it's almost like a bait and switch that happens. And so that's the unfortunate thing that can happen. And so, the big thing, we know these conversations that Sal and I have, through all of these, we know that these are fire starters, because we are very big on empowering our community and giving the knowledge out, because we always talk about, we want to start discussing publicly what is discussed privately, because our communities are suffering. And these are the things that we see on a consistent basis when we see our clients individually, or when we have family members come to us, friends who come to us that talk about, hey, there's something going on with my kids. How can I help? There's something going on with me. What do I need? And so that's the thing. That's why we like having these conversations, especially when it comes to cultural fatigue, because that is a big part of our identity and who we are. We don't want to lose our traditions, but we also want to make space for new things that come as well. So that being said, we're going to go to stage 3.
Oh, hold up, Scarlett. Let's go back to that one real quick. Just want to add a little bit about with this one. And one of the reasons why this is always such a huge topic, especially with this stage, ambivalence, right? Because if you think about it, if you think about the example I use of our kids, right? The younger generations that come into our culture excited, bright eyes, they're filled with so much pride, right? But then next thing you know, they get to experience the culture a little bit, right? And then they're at the point where, without that clarity that you're talking about, Allah, right? Without that clarity, without that guidance that you're talking about, now they're starting to question with this, so this is why we kind of put these stages together, because it's not so that we can okay, this is initially just to be kind of like an eye opener, hey, this is what we are getting on our end as mental health therapists, and this is how we are seeing it play out in our communities, right? So just so that we can sort of address these things in spaces like this, and have conversations about it. But I just thought about because this always gets me, because you have for example, say someone that is maybe just getting connected to their roots, right? Just getting connected to their culture. So they're excited, that first stage, right? The excitement is there, the attraction is there to learn about the culture. I mean, they want to learn. But then eventually it gets to the point, where they're kind of like, I don't know, why are we doing that? I don't know. They just said to just take that over there, but why? Well, then that can leave them into like what Scarlett have on here, like just mixed feelings and thoughts. And then next, they're getting yelled at because they didn't do the SUA right. Why? Right? Because nobody took the time to sort of maybe taught them the right way or talk them through it all, but they're just kind of left there with this like, okay, I have mixed feelings about this culture thing now. It's like maybe this is where the feelings of not being able to fit in, starts coming up for them, right? And so we just wanted to like, sort of, highlight that a little bit more, so that we can all be aware, right, as we continue to have this conversation about our culture, so we can all be aware of how this kind of plays out in a bigger span of things.
And you're so right, right? And I'm specifically, I'm like this, I don't know, Celie, thank you for inviting me to this conversation. But there is so many things that we need to to bring to the light about our, because sometimes we're doing it thinking that it's okay. But to our kids' eyes, they're the one who's paying the price. So say, for example, everybody's sitting in the table and we're serving, right? And then our kids are the last one to be served. And they're like, well, why do I have to eat last? Or, and then somebody who's older, hey, go get food for that person, but they're hungry, right? And they're wondering why. And why is that man like screaming out, and speaking in all these terms that I don't understand? What is he saying? Why is he yelling so loud? But nobody gets to explain. This is why, for all the people that are putting together events and all those that are putting together culture events, we need to explain. Because I have been somebody who was part of the event planning and then also a volunteer for different events. And I've seen that was the one thing our kids walk away with, like, what the heck? What is going on? And then they get yelled at. And they're like, Miss Alla, why is she yelling at me for? Like, why is he yelling at me? But there's no explanation. So you two are right on, spot on with that.
Thank you, Alla. So Ernest, I know you wanted to contribute, please share.
Yeah, I did. I agree with Miss Alla. Me being from America, some of my cousins are from the motherland, and I feel like it's harder when kids from America are learning the culture, because we oftentimes get like laughed upon and make fun of because we're not from the motherland. So like when we are doing these like multicultural events or like Fala Valaves helping out with the family, like for instance with my grandpa's funeral, I wasn't unaware of what I was supposed to do. So so we was doing this by also something like giving the food out to the family, and I accidentally put the pusa pisupo on top of the table, and everybody started yelling at me. And I was just like, I never got taught this. So the next day, my uncle literally taught us everything that we were supposed to know. And all my Samoan cousins from back home, they were just gassing me like I was supposed to know all this stuff. And it's like, yeah. But I do love learning about the culture. I mean, yeah. But I agree
We
with Tyler,
appreciate
though.
that. No, I mean, we appreciate you sharing that, especially coming from your perspective, because
Yes, ma'am.
it's a matter of, there's not a lot of explanation. So I actually didn't experience my first true Samoan event until 2006. So I was like 23, 24. But when I say I got yelled at, like, I don't know what to do because no one explained it to me. Because even when I would see, I'd be like, why is there money in the coconut and in the soda can? What's going on? And nobody
Yes,
nobody
ma'am.
knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. And it's just like And that's what Ala's saying is, it's like there's not the older generation is not taking time to explain what's
Yeah.
going on. We're asking the younger generation to continue on these traditions. And then when you all are asked, why are you doing it? And even somebody from other culture, why do you do it? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Let me go find out.
Yeah, explaining, especially I was just telling my uncle how silly, like, yeah, it's exciting to learn until you mess up. And then grandma got a food spot waiting for you, and you're over there, you don't even know why, like you're getting in trouble. Like, but it is exciting to learn though the culture, and then I'm willing to learn even more. I actually did my first umu with like my uncles, and it was very exciting. So, but I made sure that I didn't want to be the person that knew it all, because I did it. So I always made sure I let my cousins or my uncles from the motherland take charge, and I would be like the assistants.
Love it. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad they're taking that time to show you, because it's important. It's absolutely important. So, so thank you for sharing that, Ernest. We really appreciate it. Sylvia, I know you wanted to share. Did you want to say something still?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I heard about, all that you were talking about. That just like remind me of one of the president of the Brigham Young University. He was in Tonga for many years doing mission at the LDS. I'm not a Mormon, but it's well known what he always said. Every time he finished, like from the church, there's some people coming over and, it's kind of like, looking for advice, like spiritual advice. And then he found out, saying, oh, what happened, and he said, oh, the Ho'eki mean Makai, the chief, they didn't get there like 2 hours late. And then he said, did you yell at them or gossip them? They said, no, we never don't gonna do that. And then he said, he turned around, his name is Eric Shumway. Eric said, if you do the same thing, that you do to the Makai, like to the chief of Tonga, and do that to your children. See, you yell and you cuss at your kids, and then you punish them and punch them. See, you don't do that to the whole age. They were late for 2 hours, and then you never do that. But your kids, late, and you punch them and you yell at them. So if you would treat them, your kids to be like a chief, and I love the way you guys talk. With our culture, we neglect, our youngsters, and we only, if we value them, they will value our culture, and they will value, you value others, that's how they value it. It doesn't matter if they're young or elderly, of course we have a special respect, for the senior. But if we treat them, they will grow up and becoming, a valuable life in our culture. So that's something that's very important. Treat others as how you wanted to be treated. And then also, like the kids, we remember, those are the new generations, we have to kind of almost like a little plant or little flowers that you plant outside your house. If you do that nicely and water and take care of that, that's how we take care of the new generation. It's going to be becoming a beautiful rose or beautiful flowers in your garden someday. Thank you all. Sorry for taking much of your time.
No, don't apologize. Thank you, Sylvia. Beautifully said. So let's go to our next stage, and this is where my partner in crime does her thing. So that being said, let's talk about stage 3.
Stage 3, we have a strong sense of duty and obligation, right? So we just, talked about stage 2, where there's ambivalence, right? So whenever there's uncertainty, whenever there's like a lack of clarity, and ambivalence comes up, usually ambivalence kind of ushers us into kind of doing something out of pure obligation and duty. So remember how we talked about like in stage 1, where, we're all excited to be a part of this culture. We're excited to learn and to, do all of that stuff and learn about our culture and our communities. So something that started off with passionate intentions, right? Because that's how, you know, you think about it, because like something that started off like, man, I want to learn my Samoan language. I want to learn, you know, how to kaida sua. I want to learn how to do the awa ceremony. I want to learn how to talk that chiefly language. So something that maybe started off as, you know, with passionate intentions is now starting to turn into something that's like, you're just kind of going through the motion, right? You're just doing it because maybe you've just been so used to doing it, right? So something, sometimes when we function in this way, it's almost like it's fueled by our fear of perception, right? So it's fueled by our fear of like, well, how's so and so gonna say if I give this amount, you know, to the kusanga and I don't give the full amount, right? Fear of perception, fear of disappointing people, right? So it can also be fueled by guilt and shame. So, but one thing I want to say about this stage 3 of like having this strong sense of duty and obligation, this sense of duty and obligation, you know, to just continue to serve, because I feel like sometimes that's our culture, right? We have such a strong sense of service, of servitude. So we have this strong sense of duty and obligation to continue serving or even to continue sacrificing. And that is sacrificing of your time, sacrificing of your money, sacrificing of your energy, right? To accomplish whatever it is that the culture or the community requires, right? But one thing about the sense of duty and obligation is it can be seen, like in our culture, we see the sense of duty and obligation as something that's honorable, right? So it can be a good thing. Like it's nothing, I'm not saying like, you know, the strong sense of duty and obligation is something that's bad and we shouldn't do it, right? But if the cost of this, you know, strong sense of duty and obligation, if the cost is, it ends up like affecting you in a negative way, you know, where maybe it's starting to, your sense of duty, like you would, this is what I think somebody had mentioned earlier, where you're just kind of giving your time, energy, money, and now you're not even paying your bills for the month because you just have to give to this Father Beloved, because if not, I'm afraid of how I would be perceived in the family. So it's starting to affect maybe your marriage, maybe even, you know, how you would live your life, like paying your bills, your responsibilities, that kind of stuff. But the thing is, like, we're with a strong sense of duty and obligation is that it's a good thing. Like you think about like, I think I used the example of being in the military, right? When, you know, whenever we see our young people that are serving in the military, it's honorable. We see that as like, oh man, there's so much honor in that. They have a duty to serve. So there's pride, you know, that kind of comes from that and that kind of stuff, right? So a strong sense of duty and obligation is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So we can have a strong sense of duty and obligation to our culture. It's a good thing. But again, if your strong sense of duty and obligation gets to the point where it is starting to have such a negative effect on your life, then maybe this is something that's worth kind of, okay, let me pause a little bit and let me try and, like, you know, reassess my sense of duty and obligation, right? And where my priorities are. So this is a little bit about this stage. Again, like it says, like, this is when you start to experience long-term exhaustion. You know, you're just tired. But it's funny because, like, we are so tired, but at the same time, because of our strong sense of duty and obligation, we continue to show up, right? We continue. It can be so stressful, but we will continue to show up, right? We could be so stressed out, but we will continue to show up. Why? Because we have this strong sense of duty and obligation. So the example I have there is, like, you know, being able to contribute financially to multiple family events in 1 month. And, you know, maybe you feel unhappy, you know, you're trapped because for some reason now you're not able to pay your electricity bill. You're not able to pay your rent. So now that's causing stress to you and your family, your immediate family, right? But because of this strong sense of duty and obligation, it's so funny because, like, even the word obligation in Samoan is fa'alavilavi. So it's like, it's interesting that it's called fa'alavilavi because it's something that's in the way, it's in my way, and we term it like fa'alavilavi. But we have this strong sense of duty and obligation to still show up, to still complete whatever it is that the culture needs. So again, just pointing out that, you know, having this strong sense of duty and obligation for our culture is not a bad thing until it is, right? Until it does get to the point where it starts to impact you in a negative way, whether that is draining you of your energy, whether that is draining you financially, whether that is causing conflict in your relationships, either with your partner, with your kids. Now you don't even have time for your kids because you're so busy with, you know, showing up for the extended family, right? So these are the things that just wanted to kind of point out with this stage of having this strong sense of duty and obligation.
Awesome,
Anybody want
awesome.
to share anything?
Ernest, go ahead. I know you wanted to share.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with Ms. Sala. Being a young adult and also growing up seeing my mom work her tail off, financial literacy hasn't been in my family. And I can agree with Miss Sala because I didn't see my mom do the impossible when it comes to like lava to family events, you know, and it's always when the rent's due for some reason. Every time they ask the money when the rent's due, and like I didn't see my mom like pick and choose. Okay, should we help the family out or should I pay my rent? And me at a younger age, you know, I just wanted to kick it like, oh, love it, but like financial literacy, like never ran in my family, and just having my uncle Silly by my side, like he's one of the people that motivate me, other than The Rock.
Love it.
You know, just to like get financial literacy and just like do my research on it because a lot of small families don't come from that, and so we see our parents, you know, busting their tail off, working 2 jobs just so they can balance the two, you know, balance the cultural life and balance, you know, their home
Love
life.
it.
So yeah, but that's the reason why Top Silly Call Up was one of my motivators in my life because, you know, my uncle taught me a lot. And, you know, that's something that my parents never taught me because their parents never taught them because them being from the motherland, you know, they don't talk about investments and financial literacy. So like, it's just breaking like family barriers, you know, and being the first one to have knowledge on that. I mean, it's going to really help the generation after me. So, yeah.
Well, I look forward to the future financial literacy class you're going to be teaching, Ernest, because I will attend for sure. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this stage, Shala, as you were talking, like that strong sense of duty and obligation. I laughed a little bit because I remember like there was family displaced because of fires, and I kept coming over my aunt's every day. It was a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
And I just remember I'm like, you know, Auntie, I'll see you next, you know, I'll bring the stuff tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And what was so funny, my aunt would be like, no, don't come. It's okay. It's okay. But I knew if my father heard that if I didn't go, I would hear it. So that's that strong sense of duty and obligation. And then I would hear from my father, he'd be like, oh, thank you so much, sweetheart. Because I knew if I didn't, there was something that I would have heard something. I'm like, do I take the risk and get yelled at, or do I just do it and just go with it? I was extremely tired during that time, but that was that strong sense of duty and obligation because we were helping family come in because of the fires that they got displaced. But I just knew I had to because otherwise there would be some repercussions that I would experience if I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to comment, I think the one thing about the strong sense of duty is, as I wrote in the chat, is, you know, we live in this duality, right, of being American and being Samoan. So it's trying to like find that happy medium in between both, where you can show up for the family but still be a responsible human being. But not saying that Samoans aren't responsible. It's just we put family first. You know, I started a Fala Velave fund because I know my mama's gonna call me and she's gonna say, take this money to Auntie's house. But you want to show up, right? You want to be responsible at the same time. So, I mean, I think it's that duality because earlier in my life, I would always play the American card. Well, I'm an American. I don't got to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I was born there, but raised here, but still trying
Mhm.
to, take this on and also just pass it off to the kids, right? Because I think my kids have a more stronger sense of being Samoan than I do. Not saying that I don't. I'm just if I were to compare the two. Anyways, that's what I wanted to contribute to that.
Mhm.
I
Thank
also wanted to say, because I'm so glad that Ernest, from a young youth, bring up financial literacy, right? For
Mm.
our Pacific Islander families, we are so in tune to act upon fa'alavilave. Why can't we prevent, like have something in place? I like it because Brother Tolu,
Mhm.
Alu Alu. He
Yes, that's
does
my
these
brother.
packages
Mhm.
for Fa'alavilavi, like
Mhm.
funerals, because those are the biggest things that we come up with. It's
Mhm.
funerals, it's weddings. And this is where my kids really challenge me, like, if you want to get married, hey, instead of asking the whole family, you should be preparing yourself for your own
Mhm.
marriage. But our
Mm.
culture uses these as a scapegoat. So
Mhm.
to ask families for help. And this is what I always tell my mom. Not only my kids are telling me, but I tell my mom, Mom, look, this is why I went and got married at the courthouse. There is nothing wrong with getting married at the courthouse. And it only cost me $150 for the judge to marry us. But our culture, our pride is so high up there, but our finance is so down here. And you wanted to have 21 bridesmaids and 10 flower girls. And then 2 months down the road, you hear, oh, they got a divorce. And I'm like, okay, I wasted my $1,000 that we, pitch in for that. Like,
Mhm.
our people
Mhm.
needs to have some sort of, like, you're in America. This is no longer the land that flows honey and ice cream on the tree. Because when I was a little girl back home, I swear I thought America is the land where they have like candies everywhere. But no, that is in the la la land. This is
Mhm.
reality that we're in. So going back to our stage that we're in, if your sense of obligation will cost your family to lose their money on rent, because when you pay rent late, believe me, it's gonna have an effect on you. If it costs that, then God has given us and blessed us with the sense of common sense. If it costs your family to lose something, or if it costs you to lose your sleep, then I would advise you to choose wisely. It is all okay for us to help, but you give from the heart. And this is what I tell my kids: give from your heart. Whatever you can afford, forget about what people say.
Mm.
For me, I don't care. You can talk all you want about me and my kids just giving it $20 or $100. But you know what? The blessing is we work hard for that $100 that we gave you. Either you accept it or you don't. And this is why I did a talk like this with one of our elder,
Mm.
Leota, High Chief Leota.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
said, our culture is a beautiful culture, but the
Mhm.
chiefs who oversees families that do
Mhm.
these saungakupe that
Mm.
stress people out, that
Mhm.
is the person. It's not the culture. It's people. People are taking advantage of these, for their own whatever. But I'm telling you, this is one part that if your sense of obligation costs you to have a back rent or get you homeless, then you really need to reconsider.
Mhm.
Like, use common sense.
Mhm.
And to the people that are having these big weddings and ask for families to pay for their weddings, that's not right. Like, save up and get, whoever is getting, save up, hey, and plan accordingly to what you have on your hands. Quit asking families to help. Just
Mhm.
saying. I mean, sometimes
Mhm.
we're afraid, but we're in reality right now. People don't have money, just pop out of, snap of the fingers. Everybody has to work hard. And so many times I'm so afraid to say something. No, if you're afraid, I'm saying it for you. Quit asking people for money. If, get a package, get life insurance, secure your family, love those that are, love your extended family.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, ladies. We have to keep it real because we
Yes.
continue this cycle over and over and over again. But we have to let our culture know, get life insurance. If you're working full-time job and they offer life insurance, buy some life insurance from there. That will secure those that you love. When you're gone, at least they have something to fall back on. Or check with Brother Tolu Alu Alu. He offered a cheap package. Give up that $75 that you go to the bingo and the casino and purchase a package every month from him, and it will secure your family. I'm so sorry, ladies. Somebody's got to say it.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we're here and having these conversations. And I agree. My brother Tolu is amazing. This is what he does best. Financial literacy. Look him up. Okay, so then thank you so much, Sis Alla, for sharing. And trust me, we welcome the conversation because it's, again, this is why this is why Scarlett and I are doing this. But this stage 4 is delusioned and apathy. So you remember how we started off, so again, we're putting these stages out just to help everyone see a picture of how things can play out and how you could conceptualize what things are happening right now, and going through these stages. So stage 4, unfortunately, this is where, you start to experience like just a lack of interest, enthusiasm for the culture, maybe not even there anymore. You're just, disillusioned is when you're just disappointed, and it's sad to think about that because remember how we started off? Right? We could start off as like, we're excited to learn, we're excited to get plugged in and learn all these different things and contribute, right? But then as you start to experience things, and if there's no clarity, no, guidance and things like that, we start to work our way through some of those stages, like the strong sense of duty and obligation. And then eventually, like, we're not saying like within a matter of weeks this can happen. Maybe, who knows? For some people, it could take years for them to be able to get to this place where they're just like really, really disappointed, really, really like this huge feeling of letdown. And from what I've, experienced in working with some of the people that are in this stage, they've completely not even connected to anything that has to do with the culture. Like, that is how disillusioned they are, to where I don't want to have anything to do with someone. Like, no, I don't participate. They started to distance themselves from their families. They started to, this is when you like, nah, like, don't call me, don't. Now they're starting to like just do their own thing, and it's sad because, like, again, our culture is so beautiful in a sense that like we highlight community. Like, there's so much strength in our community, but it does get to a point where, with all of the other stages happening, someone could just get to the point where it's just like, I'm just completely disappointed, because maybe you've discovered something that you thought was maybe going to be good, and you believed it to be good, ended up not being good because of whatever it is that you've experienced. So with delusion and apathy, now you get, maybe even resentment starts to creep up, right? You start to have resentment creeping in. You start to maybe have this sense of bitterness, and just it's pretty much you're not having a good experience with your culture, with your community, with whatever it is type of culture that you were a part of before. So that's what this stage is. It's a complete letdown. You're just at a point where you just, feeling really, really disappointed. Okay. And then stage 5, this is when we are completely burnt out, right? So these are symptoms. The symptoms that's listed here, these are the symptoms that can be felt mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and culturally. And it's so important that we, kind of point out those different parts of us, that, because that's what makes up all of us, right? When we look at it in a wholeness perspective, like we're not just a physical being, we are also emotional beings, we are spiritual beings, we are, we have like a sense of culture. So this is when you get to experience all of these, this is where we kind of put together that definition of cultural fatigue, right? Is when you are mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and culturally, like this is the collapse of everything, where you just like completely don't want to have anything to do with anything at this point, right? And it's unfortunate, because if you could remember how things had started, right? That sense of excitement, that sense of like being a part of something, and then you get to experience things as you go along, all the way to the point where now we start to see people, and this is usually when we get to see people sit across from us in therapy sessions, where it's like, completely disengaged from their communities, completely disengaged from culture, right? And so it's having to like, and maybe even they were hurt, they're hurt in the culture, and they're at this point right now where it's just like they went through that, like, oh man, it's not what I thought it was gonna be. It's sad because I can't really identify with it anymore, and their energy is depleted, and they start to withdraw. They start to isolate themselves from community, from culture. Scarlett, did you want to add anything here?
No, I mean, I think I think you explained it beautifully. And so, it's just, we continue to emphasize the importance of balance so that we don't get to this place of cultural fatigue. And so this is why Sal and I came up with these tips in regarding to how do we to find that balance. And so one of the tips is, setting realistic expectations. Think about how much time you can contribute to the cultural events, because I always say something is better than nothing. And so a lot of times when people get mad that you can't contribute fully, that is just because that's their thing, it's not your thing. And so what we in particularly teach our clients when we see those, it's like not how to own people's stuff about what they think about you or feel about you. It's like, what can you contribute? So again, setting those realistic expectations. The other thing is really making time for your physical, mental, emotional health. And I'm always big on taking care of yourself, because the one thing that we've always emphasized in all these classes that Sal and I have taught is if you actually took care of yourself first, you will actually be better to the system and to the community and to the family. You're able to give more. A lot of times we are giving out of depletion, and then that's when we're completely stressed out. There's sometimes the unfortunate thing happens, we can have some physical ailments, some medical issues that contribute to that if you're not taking care of yourself. So getting a lot of rest and because there's a different way you operate differently when you feel replenished versus feeling depleted. Share your thoughts and feelings with somebody who's emotionally safe, or journal. Journal does not mean you have to write. You can do video blogs, you can paint, you can do whatever you want to do in that space. Finding that emotionally safe person who will keep what you have to say sacred and not share it with anybody. That's very, very important, because you need a space to release and relieve those things that's why we're big on teaching those things, because our community is very good at keeping quiet when it comes to their own needs. And so we are big on, let's find somebody. And our class, I believe it's the Know Your Feelings class, we talk about what the characteristics of an emotionally safe person is. And so that's something definitely you all can look up in there as well. And then the other part is using positive coping strategies, watching a funny movie, relaxing, taking a walk, and reducing the negative coping strategies. Because a lot of times we can drink, we can eat, we go to smoking, we go to staying silent, we do some heavy alcohol drinking. Those are what we call negative coping skills. And so with the positive ones, I'm just like, it's talking to somebody, it's doing a self-care activity, it's watching a funny movie, doing something that actually relaxes you in regards to not just relaxing your body, but in particular relaxing your mind. So you don't have to, so you can have a clear space to just think about what you need.
And learn to say no to things that you don't want to do, right? So I know even the term self-care feels so foreign to us in our communities, because our communities are like what we talked about earlier, like it's collectivistic in nature. That means our priority, it's embedded in us that we are always, supposed to look out for the well-being of the group, of the family, of the community, right? Everything that we do is foremost for the benefit of our community, of our family, right? It's never really just to me, right? If I graduate college today, it's going to be like my entire family graduating college, today, right? So everything that we do as individuals usually reflects our community or our families. So this term self-care is usually very foreign to us, but we have to, like what Scarlett mentioned earlier, we actually take care of our families and our communities better if we take care of ourselves first, right? If I am doing good financially, I'm not stressed out, I'm not, my family's doing well, my bills are paid, I would be in a much better place, even a happier place, to be able to contribute, right, to my family, Falavalaves, to my church, whatever. But if I'm at the point where I know I can't give, and it's like I'm still giving out of, sense of obligation and duty and all of that, and I end up stretching myself thin in other areas that are also important to me, like my family, my kids, right? So learn to say no to things that you don't want to do. That will save us so much stress. So learn to say no. It's hard at first because it's always embedded in us to say yes out of duty and obligation. But we do hope that you'll be able to say no, learn to say no, whatever that sounds like for you, as a way to know that you're taking care of yourself. And then tuning into your body, right? A lot of the times, as for us, like, we get a cold here and there. Did you know that, like, if you are stressed out about something, next thing you know, you get a cold, right? Next thing you know, you get a headache, constant headache. And you're thinking, oh, it's just a headache. It all ties in together. Your mental, your physical, everything ties into it. You're not just getting headaches, because it's nothing. No, it's more likely from the stress, whatever stress that you are experiencing. So when you start to experience those symptoms in your body, like, tune into that, pay attention to that, because then that lets you know, like, okay, all right, I am stressed out about this situation because now I'm getting sick. I'm starting to get sick, and I'm, it's hard for me to get rid of this cold, this flu, or whatever. So start tuning into your body, and that'll usually give you some indications as to, like, what is going on with you and how you can pay attention to taking care of yourself. And then respond from a place of values, your values, not your mom's values, your auntie's values, your uncle's values, but what are your values? What is important to you and your husband, your wife, your kids? What respond from that place of your values, because a lot of the time in our communities, we tend to respond from a collectivistic value, like our values as a group, as a culture. But then we tend to overlook, or we skip over what's really important to me, which is like my husband and my kids. So making sure that you are responding from that place of values, your values. Yeah. And there we go.
That's it.
Any questions, comments?
I just wanted to add one thing when you said to tune into your body. And I really want to emphasize that point, what Sala was saying, because our body is aware of what's going on, and it's an indicator that something's going on. And so one of the things we talk about in our classes is, like, pay attention where you hold stuff in your body. So for me, I know my shoulders are feeling tight, I'm stressed. And so that's my internal message, like, hey, you're stressed, what's going on. So it's really, really important to pay attention to what's going on in your body, because it does give us indicators that we do need to take care of ourselves. So any questions, comments, please. I know we went a little bit over, and so please share. Even if you don't have any comments and questions right now and you want to share it afterwards, send them to Steely. Steely will get them to us, and we will respond to those things. So This is just another beautiful fire conversation. So I'm just going to leave it open for like a minute or two. Celia, are we good in the Facebook chat? Anything there?
Oh, a person named Bryle just said it's a great message. But I
Thank
think he's
you.
going what a lot of people said on this call.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so again, this is, we are excited about having these conversations. We know these conversations can ruffle some feathers, and that's what we do. when you are being impactful and a world changer. And because we, again, our sense of duty and what Sal and I do is to empower our communities. And we will always continue to do that because we are very significant, and we have to pass on the knowledge that we were given so that we can teach our society and our families and our communities and our culture to do differently so that they can be better to themselves, so that they can be better to the communities and whatever communities that we're a part of. It's always very important. And we will always continue to uplift and empower through all these presentations that we do.
Oh yeah, I feel the feathers are ruffled. I'm practicing my shoe duck when I see my mom. My mom's a big fan of mine, so she watches all of our shows. So she'll be like, "What y'all over there talking about?" Oh, relax, mama. It's gonna be all right.
No, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, that's the thing, because like what worked for the older generation, it doesn't work. Some of the stuff does, it's just we can't continue to have that same type of thinking that's going to work for our society now. Like I said, some stuff works, some just stuff does, it just does, but not the entirety of it. And so, because again, the kids, the generation that's coming up from behind us, they are asking the questions that we were never taught to ask and we were afraid to ask, and now we have empowered them to ask, and I love that because it creates a beautiful conversation. That's what that's for.
Yeah, and I think about like how like the next generation that's coming up, because like if they're eager and they're excited and they want to learn, right? I think even just for us to know and to understand and be aware of all of these stages, right? Like I think that does our culture a huge sense of good, I feel like, because then we're kind of like, okay, it just gives us more awareness in our communities, and hopefully our leaders in our communities can take notice. Hopefully, send them to our class if you guys know any more of our community leaders, just so that they'll be able to see a picture. Because if you think about it, if our kids, the next generation ends up getting to that burnout phase, that's a loss of culture right there. Right? If they get to the phase where they're like ambivalent, like this is where this class, I feel like, is a class where we are intervening in that, right? We're intervening in the next generation, and we're like, hey, right now this is a way that we can bridge this. But like if we don't, then when they get to the burnout phase, well, that's a loss of culture. Now our culture is starting to not, the younger generation not going to be interested in the culture anymore because they're burnt out. So just wanted to kind of put that out there, as we're not taking away from culture. We just, for Scarlett and I, our job is empower and just be able to like, hey, bring awareness to this topic.
I think so many times that our culture are just, like listening and but to put it in actions really. But there is, I wanted to quote a saying that one of the elders said: we can make changes, but the foundation remains the same. That's how he said it. And I asked, like, what does that mean? Because right now we're living in the world, for example, I'm going to give you an example, like the suwa, right? Back home, we use the coconut. Right now, most of the suas right now, we don't do the whole suwa. We just make everything with the money, because it's more doable just to give the money, because it's hard for us to go find a whole bovi or a whole pua'a, because that's what we used to do the suakai with. And then also Iekonga and siapos, those are things that it's hard to come around here. And right now it costs so much. So our culture changed that. So the elders said you can make changes but the foundation needs to remain the same about our culture. Like, why are we doing the SUA when we have the you can make changes like give an envelope of cash. That's the whole SUA, and then just say this is the whole SUA, because we have to acknowledge the SUA tradition in our culture, or the Ava tradition too in our culture. But it's hard to find stuff nowadays here in America. So that's why I was really blessed when he said that at one of the events that I was at. But grounded in the culture, you guys are hit in the nail. Like, I feel for the kids, the next generation coming up. I feel for them, but I also watch that that's the main reason. It's because we're not explaining. Our kids are hunger to learn, but we elders don't have the patience to teach them. And that's the other reason why. But also, in our culture, the motto that I grew up hearing, "If Samoa," and I take that at heart, because it is true. Samoa was built on our belief in God, our belief in God. So I really am very honored to be a Samoan, very humble to be a community advocate here in the state of Washington. So I thank you. The presentation, I enjoyed the presentation. I applaud you both for such an amazing presentation, and may you continue to serve our communities in many ways, inspire, empower, and embrace the culture. So thank you. I am just honored to be on your presentation today. Thanks, Silly, for the invitation.
Well, we appreciate you, Ala, and we appreciate all the input, the feedback, the conversation, because again, Saul and I, you notice we never really call these presentations, we call these community conversations. And that's what it is, because the big thing is like, we didn't want you all to come to these community conversations to be like, we present, then you talk. And it's like, no, let's make this a community conversation, which has definitely been impactful. So with that being said, I'm gonna throw it back to Sealy so he can wrap us up. But we, again, really, Sal and I greatly appreciate you all for being a part of this community conversations, and we will continue to have them more and more and more. So Sealy, back to you.
For sure. Thank you both. And I think this call, like this last one, is super important too, because when I think about Americans, right, we can almost be a color, because a lot of them are white, but they're not like Irish, they're not French. But I mean, we have that trap of being brown pretty soon if we don't continue to identify as Pacific Islanders or whatever, culture you represent. Because I mean, I think that's the one thing where the American assimilation is to be American, and then they'll just tag us as a color on the census. But anyways, it's a little rant of mine. But thank you both to this final 8-part series. We are bringing them back in the fall, but we're taking a different approach. So we're working with a few other CBOs, and then we might be contracting them with our Wednesday partner calls at Public Health. But with that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be rendering this video off tonight and sharing it with the community. Thanks all.
Have a good one. Good night, everyone.